Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to your March 2023 astrology forecast. I am so sorry this is so late, but let's go ahead and get into this because March is such a massive month, specifically for Aquarius and Pisces. Okay, these are the two signs, and I would also argue Leo and Virgo as the opposing signs, but this is especially like you're still kind of in the hot seat there. Now, the good news is that Saturn is leaving. I think Saturn is a lot more challenging than Pluto. Now, don't get me wrong, Pluto can bring out a lot of stuff, and because he moves so slowly and can feel like things just get dragged out so much. But the difference is that Pluto really challenges you to rise to your highest degree of power, where Saturn just kind of feels like it just makes life hard sometimes. Now, let's look back a little bit. Before we can look forward, we have to kind of look back. Saturn, over the past couple of years, coming through your sign, has really forced Aquarius to become a new person. And I would say that through 21 and 2022, the Aquarians out there are completely rewriting the script, rewriting their self-concept, who they are, who they want to be, where they want to go. It's all completely different than what it used to be. And world circumstances, economic circumstances, relationship circumstances, all those kinds of things had a say in this. And as Pluto comes into the first house, this is now going to start to really, that inner determination to become that person is going to be undeniable. Okay? Pluto has spent the past 15 years being in a very dreamy house. This is where dreams and imagination and all sorts of things, but it's not real. There's no like materialism that comes through that 12th house. And so it has been very challenging for Aquarius to fully actualize. Now, I'm not saying you haven't done anything. Okay, please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. But in terms of the big dreams and the big aspirations, this is you. Like, we have not seen the best of Aquarius yet. Because the best of Aquarius was still in the dream world. It was still in the imagination. And Saturn was preparing Aquarius for the integration of those really big dreams and desires. Now, as Pluto comes in, he is going to help you to actualize a lot of those things. But remember, with Pluto, not only comes incredible desire, but also comes incredible fear. Because the heights that Pluto and also Saturn have really been asking you to get to demands a lot from you. It requires insane amounts of courage. It requires kind of like an egoless thing, right? Like you have to kind of give up yourself, quote unquote, and open yourself up to channel the divine in order to attain this. And that can be a really scary thing. Like if you want to be a billionaire, you're going to have to let the work of the divine work through you, which means you have to remove that ego almost altogether and just let it keep coming through. It's a very hard thing to do. It's a very hard ask. But I think it's time for Aquarius to do that. Now, I know a lot of Aquarian risings. First of all, Aquarius is I call it one of the lucky signs, okay? It has a lot of uniqueness, and it's actually one of the best manifestation signs. I'd say along with Taurus, Sagittarius is also very good with manifestation. Scorpio is as well. Leo can be, depending. But Aquarius is one of the best. And I'm not saying things come entirely easy, because that's a little oversimplified, but there's not as much resistance as there is often with other zodiac signs. But you're still a human being, okay? You still have the makeup of being a human being. You still have all the archetypes at play in your life. And so, this is going to really challenge you to completely course, we know that Pluto is about destruction. And when he comes into this sense of self, like it's more about destroying that sense of self that has really been established, destroying that sense of self and opening yourself up to a completely new identity, but really your identity is going to be more of a lack thereof. Because we have to get that out of the way so the divine can truly channel. And people that hang on, now this is a message that I am only saying to Aquarius. That's it, only you, because you're the only ones that are having Pluto coming through the first. The more and more you grip on to your idea of life and your sense of control and your sense of pacing, you want things to go in a certain time frame, because if it starts going too fast, it can be like, whoa, really scary, right? But Pluto is like, you have to get out of the way. Your ego, your sense of self, it has to get out of the way so the divine can do its work. And because Pluto is so much about the destruction of dualities, he genuinely is asking you to merge the divine and the physical as much as you possibly can so that you don't perceive a gap between the two. Now, this will come in a lot of different lessons, in a lot of different ways, and at different time frames. But it is something that you can capitalize on. And if you bring it to the front of your consciousness, you actually can open yourself up to pretty much everything you ever wanted. I often see strong Plutonic individuals getting whatever they want and being happy and being fulfilled by it. Now, Pluto is a very focused planet. He's not like Neptune, which is all encompassing. Neptune does have kind of a laser sharp focus to it. So chances are you're not asking for the entire world here. You're probably asking for money or you're asking for one or two very specific things here. And that laser sharp focus of Pluto is going to be really, really helpful in helping you to attain it. Okay? But the ante has definitely been upped. Okay? We've definitely upped the ante here with Pluto. He's a much more powerful planet. Now, I'm not saying, Saturn is powerful, don't get me wrong, but Pluto operates from the inside. He operates from extraordinary depth, a depth that we don't normally have access to. He comes from the deepest, darkest corners of our psyche and gets us to do what he wants us to do. And sometimes we don't really have a lot of control there. But that's the point. I think the less and less you try to control things, the more and more the divine can really work through you. And that's where the real accomplishments begin. And the more and more accomplishments you attain, the more and more you help the world. Right? And that's the point, is making the world a better place. This is not selfish. The only time Pluto becomes a very selfish thing is when the ego won't get out of the way. And the ego tries to take advantage of the Plutonic drive. And it tries to latch on. Not only does the ego slow the Plutonic power down, but it also makes it very greedy. And so, there's going to be a balance there. But bringing that to your awareness, it will be helpful. Now, as Saturn leaves, Saturn is going to come into that second house. And we've got a lot of second house activity here, which means specifically regarding your livelihood, regarding the utilization of your talents and skills in order to earn a living. This is kind of a time for realignment and readjustment for Aquarius. Now, if you are, let's say you're really, really good at logistics. You're really good at logistics, or you're really good at research or something, and you're working for a company whose values don't necessarily align with your own. Well, you're utilizing these skills. Maybe you're getting a high pay for it. You're utilizing these skills, but morally, in terms of your value and your inherent desire to see the world be a better place, you're going to feel very disconnected from what you're doing and may even build up some kind of a resentment toward that thing. Like if you're a researcher and you're working for a pharmaceutical company and you don't agree with what's being put out there on the market, you're going to have a massively challenged internal dialogue and you are going to feel completely ripped apart from yourself. Saturn in the second house demands that you align with the highest good. And it's not just the highest good as you perceive it to be, it's the highest good that promotes health and goodness and prosperity for the people around. So if you're not in a position that actually does that and creates beneficial experiences for other people on the planet, Saturn is going to make your work life kind of crappy. And I do think a lot of Aquarians are going to be changing jobs and shifting the way they're utilizing their skills. So let's say you work for let's say you're like a logistics person for like FedEx. You're like, okay, well, that's actually a really good thing. I like the kinds of things that I do, but maybe instead of that, maybe I can switch and start working for a nonprofit that helps to organize the delivery of all sorts of important things to countries and places and people that really need these things. Maybe you're a more philanthropic type of person, so that's going to be a much, much, much better use of your talents. I don't know why logistics came to my mind. I have no idea. But maybe that's a better use of your talents, and maybe that feels better. You're a researcher for pharmaceuticals. Well, maybe you start working for a company that promotes more natural healing or something like that. And that way you can be doing the same thing. You're just aligned with a higher purpose that serves your better view of the world. And I think Saturn is really going to demand that of Aquarius. And as Mercury and Sun and Neptune come into conjunction, really around like the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th of March, middle of March, we see these three planets coming into a conjunction. And it does signify like the beginning of the end. The beginning of the end of the way that we are earning, okay? And if there's any issues with self-worth, like if you're working in a position that doesn't make you feel, I don't know, good, really, it's going to make your self-worth go down really, really low. Or if you're working for someone or with someone that doesn't really value you, your self-worth is going to hit an all-time low. And if it hits an all-time low, that's your signal to get out. This is what I mean. It's like the beginning of the end of something for Aquarius in terms of their relationship with money, because it's all tied in with your sense of self-value and self-worth. Now, on the other hand, if you're working at a place that does truly value you, you may have something like a raise or a promotion or some sort of accolade or a reward of some sort that comes your way, and you start to realize that you have more to offer than what you've been doing. And so you're going to, what did I say before? You're going to up the ante in terms of what you're doing, and you're going to start climbing and going and growing and doing more and more than you ever have been. So there's a real pivot point here for Aquarius, there's no doubt. And money is going to be a big component of that, okay? Now, we also have had this Jupiter-Chiron conjunction going on ever since the beginning of February, which has been very daunting and way too slow. I think there's been so much exposure of our traumas and our wounds and our inner child stuff. But and the third house, actually, there's a lot of courage and life force energy that comes through the third house. And I feel like many Aquarians have wanted to really just go for it and really push and just take that leap of faith, like very fool energy. Aquarius really wanting to be that fool person. But this has been making it a lot more difficult to do than they thought. It's hard to just take that leap of faith. It's hard to just let the wind carry you wherever it is you need to go. It's hard to do that because with Saturn in the first, there's kind of that demand for purpose. And it's like, well, if it doesn't really have a purpose, then I probably really shouldn't be doing that. So there were a lot of restrictions for Aquarius with Saturn through the first. But again, that's changing. Pluto is not a restrictive planet. Okay, he's not here to restrict you or restrain you. In fact, quite the opposite. He's here to kind of light you on fire and instill a great deal of passion and drive within you so you can go as far as you want to go. Saturn is more restrained. And that restraint being amplified by the woundings and the traumas and the inner child experiences and all that kind of stuff. But as soon as Jupiter makes his way to the other side of Chiron, that's like going to be over, and you're going to start to feel more free, and you're going to feel a little bit more excited and more enthusiastic about taking those huge leaps of faith, which I think you'll feel grateful for. You'll feel, glad that that sense of pressure is over, and you can actually finally like let loose a little bit and not take everything so seriously. We also have Venus coming into Taurus. Of course, this is her sign of rulership. And, with North Node and Uranus here, I have felt for Aquarius a strong sense of instability. It's hard to have your foundation house, which is the fourth house, which is such an important house. It's hard to have a planet like Uranus in here because it completely kind of pulls the rug out from under you. And it's like, am I even standing on the ground? I don't even know. And so you may have struggled to feel rooted. And because you have Taurus, which is like the most stable, quote unquote, sign, to have a sign like Taurus in that fourth house, stability underground or underfoot is essential for Aquarius's growth. Venus is going to come in here, and I think what she's doing now, this North Node is going to be leaving in July, and in July, Venus is going to be in shadow phase for her Venus retrograde, which is happening in Leo, which is going to be opposite of you. End of July through August and beginning of September, Venus will be retrograde in Leo. So here she is kind of preparing for the July activities. And she is having a conversation with the North Node, a very quiet, subtle, unexciting conversation where she's kind of collecting information about all the things that have been sort of consolidated. Because that North Node is not a very clear channel. Things don't flow wherever that North Node is. It creates a lot of blockage, and it creates a lot of strange, it's like a combination of like Saturn and Neptune. If we can put those two together, there's a lot of delusion around it, but there's also a lot of resistance with it as well. And it makes it hard for the area of the chart where the North Node is to have any kind of settled energy. So she's going to be having a conversation with the North Node about where are we at in terms of your home environment, in terms of your living situation, your private life, whatever is going on in that unseen part of your world. Where has there been a lot of, maybe some of you are like, I really want to move to a new city. Well, why haven't you? Well, because of all of these reasons. All of those reasons are the consolidated energies that are wanting to be set free. They will be set free in July, okay? But Venus is here kind of collecting information so that she knows what it is she needs to take care of. Between March and July, there's going to be a lot of preparation for that nodal shift. And there's going to be a lot of financial stuff, especially with Saturn here in the second, a lot of financial stuff that's going to be a part of it, and a lot of utilizing your skills and talents. How are you utilizing your skills and talents for the highest good and in the highest possible way so that you can establish a really solid private life? A lot of money comes in, you can buy a better house, right? A new job comes in, you can move to a new city. That type of thing. And so she's kind of just collecting. This will be a very quiet transit that's happening behind the scenes of everything, but yet it's probably going to make a lot more sense in July when real changes start to be made. Okay, so just keep your eyes on that. Finally, we have Mars moving into his sign of detriment. He's going to be moving into Cancer. This, I think, is going to feel good for a lot of people. This is definitely going to put Aquarius to work. I like a Mars in the 6th house, even though he is in actually his fall position. I'm sorry, not detriment. He's going to be in his fall position. I like Mars in the 6th, though, because it's productive. And I think more than anything, Aquarius needs productivity. It's going to need to put its head down and just go to work and block out all the noise, because you're being called up to a much higher order. So it's important to get everything organized so you can actually live into that. Organization, fitness and health, and really taking care of your body, taking care of the minuscule things that have been put on the back burner ever since Mars in the 5th has been at play. Mars in the 5th with his retrograde there has been kind of all over the place. There probably hasn't been a lot of, now there may have been a little bit of progress with a lot of things, but there hasn't been a lot of progress with a few things. When Mars comes into the 6th, there will be a lot of progress with the few but most important things. And that is going to really accelerate this Pluto coming into your sign. And you're going to introduce Pluto into your sign in a really, really positive way. Now, Pluto moves in on the 23rd. Mars moves in on the 25th. So that's just a couple days apart. So the end of March will already be an Aries season at that point. But the end of March is going to be probably the most pronounced part of the month. Okay? Sorry for the long reading, but it was such an important month. I had to really get all of it out there, especially for Pisces and Aquarius, and also Virgo and Leo I'll spend a lot of time with. But good luck, Aquarius. You guys know how much I love and adore you. I wish you nothing but the best. Take care.